Hi, it's JP Smith and welcome back to Boxing Saves Lives. This week, our special guest is Sammy Leaver. Now, Sammy is a coach and runs a gym in Dunstable called Prime MMA. So, today we will talk about how mixed martial arts can be a safe space for young people. Now, I don't know an awful lot about mixed martial arts. I know Sammy through popping in to see him at the gym and having a chat with him. So, I need to know a little bit more about things like jiu-jitsu and the other disciplines that are involved in that. So we spoke the other day to Aidan Pasalides, who talked us through Muay Thai and K1. So let's see what today will offer us in terms of what Sammy can tell us about mixed martial arts. I've just gone completely blank on the other disciplines. So let's have a look. Here he comes.
Mr. Smith.
Hey Sammy, how are you, man?
Not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I was trying to get this all organised and stuff, and trying to make sure I'm getting some sessions sorted for every week for this Boxing Saves Lives thing. And I thought, you know what, we spoke a few weeks ago. I thought, you know what, let's just get it in the diary because
Yeah.
you had a few things in the pipeline on, was it Saturday? I don't know how it went, so God, I hope I haven't jinxed it, but you were half open in the gym on Saturday, weren't you? How'd that go?
Yeah, it went very well, thank you.
Okay.
So what we do, we have a certain amount of people that can come in, and it's all pre-booking system. It's not exactly how we want to be, but it's a start.
Yeah.
We're in the gym at least training. So yeah, it went well.
Brilliant. So, I mean, today we'll have a quick chat about, in fact, we won't have a quick chat, we'll have a good chat about, your background and how you got into MMA, Sammy. Now, obviously, I know you come from a boxing background, but
Yeah.
like anything, I like to think that what you're doing in terms of mixed martial arts could be a really good way in order to, get young people off the streets and get people involved in things where they can, try a new sport and, stay away from harm. And as well as older people and people who just want to give it a go, and you've got women's class as well, just giving them that way out and somewhere else they can be just to kind of try something new. So let's start from the beginning. Tell us about your background, mate, and how you've got into any type of combat sport to begin with.
Okay. So it all started when I was a young schoolboy. Um, Initially, it's all I got put into boxing really from my stepdad. He's all of his friends, all from Bushy ABC. Um, they're all heavily boxers, and me being the boy of the family, he pushed me into it. So yeah, I started when I was young. Um, Carried on all throughout my teens. Competed and boxed. And I had a slight break from it when I hit adulthood, and then got straight back into it. I missed it too much. Got back into it, and not too long after, in my early 20s, I fancied something different.
Yeah.
Um,
So how was it, Sammy, to begin with, when you say you got the bug for it and then you went back to it? What was it like
yeah.
when you first came into a gym as a youngster? How old were you, mate, when you first got into
Well,
boxing?
I stepped foot in the first boxing gym when I was about 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah.
Like I said, my stepdad's friends, they had a couple of clubs and that. And he used to stick me in the corner. I just beat up the punch bag until we was finished training.
Yeah.
And then we moved into the Dunstable area when I was about 12 years old, I'd say, maybe younger. And we were trying to find a local boxing gym, and the Shamrocks was
Yeah.
the gym to place to go into. And it is daunting. It's daunting for any human. It doesn't matter how old you are to step foot into a boxing gym. But once you get into it, it's sound. It's fine.
Were there a lot of kids your age at that time? I know you said your family and they were well into it. Were there many kids your age, or were you kind of out there, kind of just watching around you and seeing what was happening?
Um, yeah, all similar ranges. I mean, there was juniors and there was seniors. I was in the juniors, of course, when I was younger. Um, Eventually, I kind of outgrew the junior squad and moved into the seniors even before I was 16. I've moved into the seniors. So yeah, similar ages, all from under 10
Yeah.
to the 16s.
And did you get carded in box as an amateur and all of that, or were you literally just training and enjoying that part of it?
Yeah, I've got carded quite a few times. Completely out of my choice. That's what most coaches do now. They tell you that's it, you're fighting there. Um, and yeah, I travelled quite a lot in the south of England,
Yeah.
boxing a few other clubs, boxed away. Yeah, it was fun.
And so you had a few years off. Talk us through why you made the transition then towards heading towards mixed martial arts.
Um, After, well, what it was, UFC was still quite young. MMA was still very young, about 15 years ago, I'd say. And I used to watch it, and being in the combat sport background that I had, and I was not getting bored of boxing because I love it. I never get bored of it. I did fancy something different, and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to try that. And then a few years down the line, I found a local kickboxing club, South Beds Kickboxing Academy, and took up a few sessions in there. Learned a few, how to kick. Took up kickboxing there, and then not long after that, some of the students within that club was also doing MMA. So I learned how to grapple from there, and then just progress from there. Really,
And whereabouts was South Beds Kickboxing Club then, Sammy?
that was in Dunstable Leisure Centre,
So
ran
that's
by head coach Ken Hearn. Fantastic coach. He's one of the best coaches I've had.
and so eventually you've moved across. You're not too far. You're basically around the corner from there, really, give or take a little bit around the corner of Dunstable, aren't you? Just up
Yeah,
the road in by Tavistock Place. So for people who are, don't understand MMA properly, talk me through, because as much as they will ever see on TV will probably just be UFC. So
yeah.
explain to people just from the start, because I mentioned to people about things like jiu-jitsu and that, but talk people through exactly what MMA involves for somebody who's just come through the door of a gym and has just seen it on TV.
Okay, so mixed martial arts is literally what it is. It's a mixture of martial arts. There is no set style that you learn. I mean, every different club will have different styles of MMA. So your corner posts of MMA is your boxing, your kickboxing, Thai boxing, your wrestling, and your jiu-jitsu. They're the four styles of mixed martial arts that you kind of really need to learn. But like I said, different clubs have different strengths. So our strength is boxing and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Other clubs will be Muay Thai and wrestling. It all depends on which club you go into, really.
Got you. And so a few weeks ago, we spoke to Aidan Patzalidis from Storm Gym in Luton, and he's talked us through K1 and Muay Thai and understanding the difference of them in competition. Tell us a little bit about Jiu-Jitsu for people who don't understand that one.
Okay, so our style of Jiu-Jitsu is Brazilian. Okay, it's majority in the gi. A gi is the jacket and the pants that you wear. It's a lot of chokes. It's a lot of limb submissions. So it's mainly control. It's designed from years ago. It's called a small man's martial arts, where you learn how to deal with bigger opponents and how to control them, really. And it's just evolved from there. And it's forever evolving. It's always getting better. It's always progressing.
So it's like really, really close in kind of thing, whereas kickboxing, you're talking about boxing range. Now you're talking about when you're getting in close with people and working in
Yeah,
and getting out of
yeah,
kind of lock in.
yeah.
And how does wrestling come into it then?
Wrestling is I mean, there's two styles. They complement each other, really, Brazilian
Yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu and wrestling. Wrestling's a lot of controlling, um, top pressure, and a lot of throwing and taking down. And Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is kind of adapting with what's in front of you, really. So you could be even on the bottom. That doesn't mean you're losing. Where wrestling, you try and maintain on top. But yeah, to the untrained eye, it looks very similar, but it is very much different.
Yeah, you know what? It's just when you explain that, it's when you're talking about when you're on, when you're if you're on the ground, and it doesn't mean particularly that you're losing. It's
Yeah,
quite similar to something we learned a few weeks ago. Is the different types of martial arts, where one will give you points for being aggressive, whereas the other you could be getting beaten up, but if you're delivering the right shots, then you could be on top of it, and that's quite good because we're kind of learning all the time and stuff like that.
yeah, absolutely. That's it.
So, which part of it do you find that people who come into your gym move towards your gym towards? Do they come in for looking at boxing, or what attracts somebody for a gym like yours or any MMA gym?
Um, Even though we are an MMA gym, we do get a lot of guys that come in just to learn boxing, just pure boxing, which makes me happy because we're not an established boxing club, even though we do teach it a lot.
Yeah,
Um, but it varies with some guys that come in. They really want to take up MMA, and I say, look, it's not, you don't just learn MMA, you have to learn it all. So you have to learn your boxing, you have to learn your kickboxing and your grappling. Yeah,
I
so it
was
all
good.
varies.
Yeah, I was just going to say that because yeah, I mean, if you're going to get involved in something like that, and we'll talk in a second about people who do actually, you'll have people who compete. You can't just go pick and choose, can you? And I presume you have to
No,
have part of it because when you watch a USC fight, they can't just go. Well, obviously you have people who are specialists at, strikers, and you'll have people who are good at, getting on the floor. What I would have called like grappling on the floor, but obviously you're explaining there's jiu-jitsu and there's wrestling
yeah,
involved. If you're coming into your gym, yeah, you can't just say I'm just going to pick that little part of it and stay with it.
yeah, that's it. You might not like I've said to many people before. I used to hate grappling at first because I used to be a stand-up fighter, and it's a bitter pill to swallow. You have to eat your vegetables before you have your dessert. So you need to learn your ground game. It's not all the fun
Yeah,
swinging and banging. You have to learn
yeah.
your ground game.
I was going to say it does look like the least exciting part of it. You know what I mean? And that's what I say. For me, looking from the outside, I look at it sort of like
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm looking at when I'm seeing it. Obviously, I
yeah,
can see when the people are pulling certain moves, and I'm listening to somebody on the TV and they're talking me through it. I'm like, oh, okay. But at the same time, I think, how do you practice it? So how could you get your mindset up for something where you're literally just going to be on the floor like that there, as opposed to, working your own shots and that? How does
yeah.
somebody get their mindset ready for an MMA session?
Um, well, like you said, to people that are unfamiliar with grappling, it will look boring, but believe me, it is.
I
If
never
you're
said
in,
boring. I said it looks different.
you didn't say that, but I've heard it many a times. They're like, "Oh, stand up, come on."
Yeah.
But yeah, to people that are in the know, it's very intriguing and intricate. Um, how'd you get them ready for it? Just throw them in the deep end. You've got, you've got to get used to it.
And you from last year when things were all rolling along, you had started new gym sessions, and you were like giving a couple of sessions for free and that for people.
Yeah,
So what type of people came through the door then? Because you got quite a good gathering of people that were coming through. So what kind of
yeah,
background was there? Whereas boxing, we have like a lot of young kids who will come through the door,
yeah,
or the parents will come through the door and say, look, gosh, we can't get him to sit down. Or he's doesn't want to pay attention. We want him to get some discipline in. What kind of background do people come from when they come through the door of an MMA gym?
Oh, well, I've had people from all walks of life come in,
Mm.
all shapes and sizes and sexes, um, job occupations as well. Like there's people from carpenters to dentists to
Yeah,
hairdressers. Everyone, honestly, they come in. They like naturally they get apprehensive at first, but
yeah.
once they get that taste for it, that's it. They're hooked and they're back in.
So someone who comes through your door tomorrow, what kind of sessions do you put them through to begin with? Where would you start somebody who's new to MMA? So you talking about would you start doing boxing to begin with, standing up, and then start working through the different disciplines?
Yeah, I may sound biased, but I think boxing first and foremost, you need to establish your stance, and you need to work on your footwork and your punch defense before you learn how to throw a punch, and really build it from that. Really, get your
And
stance right, get your basic punch in, get your defense going first, and then build it around that.
and you've been running women-only classes as well at some point over
Yeah,
the last few months and over the last, before all of this happened. How are they going?
yeah, great, very well. It's actually some of my busiest classes, the ladies only classes. Um, and understandably as well, they don't want to come into a class 90% full of guys. It can be intimidating, even though the boys are very well behaved and welcoming. The you know ladies feel more comfortable training with each other, and it works very well.
I totally agree with that because I've spoken to a few people recently, and I've spoken to like boxers like Tyson Gallagher and Michelle Nelson. They both run women's only classes,
Yeah,
and they talk about the women feel intimidated. It's
yeah,
whether it's real or it's just real or imagined, that they have this perception of the gym and it's really masculine and all of these things are happening, and they would feel really out of their depth, and they
yeah.
see the women's only classes being like a step to the gym further down the line if they want to. But I can definitely see the benefit in that, as in just keeping women together, because the other option is for them not coming through the doors of a gym, and
That's
that's
right.
a massive shame, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
And so when you're running women's only classes, you also have that thing where you're giving them that option to move on to the gym later on, but also that gives them that comfort where they're in beside each other, and they can
yeah,
they can actually both learn the sport, because they can learn from scratch as well.
yeah.
They
That's
can
right.
all kind of start. You can have somebody from different. You can have somebody who's maybe 15 or 16 who wants to learn something. You can have somebody who's like in Tyce's case, she talked about how she struggled to do any kind of exercise when she just after she had a baby. So the women's kind of they all have their own kind of sensitivities that need to be addressed as well. And
Yeah,
by putting
absolutely.
on that class, it's brilliant. It's really good for them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, most of the ladies come in. They come in for the fitness. I mean, there's no better fitness like it. But some do actually want to, progress and start competing. And once they
That
feel comfortable, that's it. They get mixed in with the lads.
that was going to be my next question. So you have people like Duncan who does he competes for you.
Yeah.
What's it like for someone like him, the level of training that he would have to do as an athlete?
Um, it's full on. If he wants to fight and be at the top level that he wants to be at, anyone, they have to put in your time for it. I want to see. I tell him I need to see you a minimum of 4 to 5 days a week, at least, and I've got to see you at least 2 hours a day, and get everything in, and then obviously trust them to put the work in outside of of the classes, getting
And the
top
great and the great
position.
thing about your like a gym like yours, the boxing gym, is that when someone like that comes in, even though they're competing, and you don't have a hierarchy in the gym, but there would be different levels to it. They're still jumping in with everybody else and getting involved, aren't
Yeah,
they?
yeah. That's the thing with us. I don't favour the more competitive guys over the beginners. We're all in it together and we're learning the same thing all together, and they all get equal attention as well. There may be times when we do separate, if competition's coming up and we know we're fortunate enough to be matched up with an opponent straight away. We do the homework, and then I adapt the classes around that. If say we need to work on a little bit more footwork or a bit more range for this particular opponent, then we work on that. But overall, everyone gets the same attention and progress together.
And Sammy, what is the youngest age of a person that you will accept in the gym to get involved in a sport like MMA?
I do junior classes, and I take them from 11
Yeah,
to 14. And then as soon as they hit 15, that's it. They jump into the seniors with us. And, but yeah, 11 years old. I've got a few little warriors coming through the door.
that was going to be my next question. What motivates a young person of that age to get involved in MMA? So, what does their background tend to be in terms of is it something they've seen on the TV, or is it? I know I would love it to be. the culture like in boxing where you have somebody in your family you say, oh yeah, this is worth doing? Which is it at the moment? Is it more like, I saw this on TV, I want to give it a go? Or is there a
I'll say
bigger
it's a good
culture?
balance. I'll say it's a good balance between the two. The parents love getting the kids involved in something that they can't do themselves, so they love to, push the little ones in. But there are some kids with so much ambition, and they, like you said, they see stuff on telly and they really want to get involved in it. So yeah, it's a good balance between the two, I'd say.
And for somebody coming through the doors of your gym, what would be your greatest ambition for somebody who was coming through the doors of the gym? So say somebody came through the doors now and they're 11 years old, and they really get involved, they look really talented. What would be the pinnacle of the sport as far as you're concerned for that young person to, boy or girl, to achieve?
If it is mixed martial arts and they do keep it going, the pinnacle of mixed martial arts is in the UFC. Yeah, 100%. That's, if you can imagine football as the sport, the Premiership, Champions League, that's what UFC is to football, to MMA. So yeah, UFC, one championship. That's a big promotion as well. Bellator, Cage Warriors, best in Europe. Yeah, I'd say that's a pinnacle.
And you've just listed, I mean, I know Bellator and UFC, but you've just listed a few more. Are these ones that are kind of dotted around the UK where if you begin to start going through the levels, you can start competing in the other one, more outside ones?
Yeah, Cage Warriors, easily the best promotion in the UK, if not Europe. And a lot of fighters, a lot of champions from there go on to fight on the UFC. Yeah, there's a good link between the two. So if you're good, if you're doing well in Cage Warriors, there's a strong chance you'll get signed into the UFC.
And is it a bit like, from your background in boxing, Sammy, is that once you start moving, like if somebody's in boxing and amateur boxing, and then they go and start fighting for England boxing, they start getting the higher levels, what we call sparring and stuff like that, you start moving through the different levels of people you're competing with, and then naturally you start becoming a better fighter.
Yeah.
So you've got all of those things to push you through. So over the last few years, since it's been about 15 years, what changes have you started seeing coming into the worlds of mixed martial arts since you've gotten into it?
Well, it's forever evolving. I mean, MMA as a sport now is collectively as a sport. Where back in the day it was very much two styles of fighting, but now you have to be good all round. So to be an MMA fighter now, you need to be a good all rounder. So in that sense, it's evolving massively. And boxing has really taken a hold in MMA now. A lot of fighters realise that boxing is paramount. You need to get your boxing going. Where back in the day, it's very rare to see someone that can box and throw a good punch properly. But now it's clinical punching now in MMA.
And I guess from that point of view, it's like if you're good at the boxing, you may not even, you could finish a fight without ever even needing to go on the floor if you're that good. You know what I mean? But obviously, you
Yeah,
got to be
absolutely.
ready for when you go down there. We have the example a few years ago of was it Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor. And everybody said,
Yeah,
"Don't go to ground, go to ground." The next thing he's taken down and he's out. And it's like because
that's
some guys are just so good and some guys are good strikers, and you have to be ready for every anything that comes up in the fight.
yeah, absolutely. In the blink of an eye, you can lose. I mean, you could be winning 4 out of the 5 rounds up to the last 30 seconds. Slip up, that's it. You can lose. That's the beauty of MMA.
That's a good point, actually, because it's surprising, even for me watching, is that how quickly somebody can just get taken to the ground. And that's something you miss in the MMA. I know people give out about the bit on the ground, but actually sometimes it can take your breath away just how quickly somebody can be just swiped off the
Yeah,
feet and taken down.
absolutely.
So, Sammy, with all your classes and stuff coming up now, and you're just moving towards COVID-19, but trying to move past the COVID-19 in terms of getting everything disinfected for your classes and all that, and trying to move around that so that doesn't affect your ongoing, your ongoing classes and your ongoing
Yeah.
opening of the gym. How are you managing to make precautions for that you've been doing classes outside as well. So what kind of things do you have to
Yeah.
do to make sure that everything's ready for people who may want to come to the gym?
Well, we've been over the last 4 months. We've been working tirelessly to ensure everything's going to be, we're adhering to guidelines and safety precautions. So in my particular gym, we keep the 2 meter distance. Each have a separate bag, separated with 2 meters in between. And they're no longer than 45 minutes, so that gives me the chance to sanitize the whole area, get ready for the next time slot of people that have booked in. So you have to book yourself in. You can't just turn up. There's a very strict guideline that I set in the gym. You get allocated your space, your place where you put your stuff, and then again, whenever the class is finished, I tell them each at a time when they can leave, and then that's it. Sanitize the area, ready for the next session. I mean, it's not what we want to do. Believe me, and a lot of other gym owners will say the same. But this is what we have to do. This, to help, be the solution, not the problem.
Perfect. And you know what? Funny you talk about sanitizing, because I remember that one time I'd been in to see you, we did a little interview about a year and a half ago. You were sanitizing right then. The little guys had left, and you'd gone around and you'd gotten the old place absolutely pristine clean before we even sat down for our interview. So yeah, pretty good. So
Yeah, even
anyway.
yeah, even before this pandemic kicked in, I'm very strict on hygiene, and rightly so. Everyone has to be.
Spot on. Sammy, a quick question in terms of young people coming through the gym. When I speak to people from boxing, they talk about young kids who come in and they're go from being really shy kids to being extra confident and really good, or it can go from kids who are too cocky to kids who go, oh, okay, it kind of just moves them down to a level. Do you find the same thing with MMA?
Absolutely, yeah. You get some leery lot come in,
Yeah,
and give it a big one, give it the ego, which is my number one rule: no egos in the gym. That's my first and foremost rule. And they quickly realise they're not as big or scary as they think they are, and everyone quickly gets humbled. That's the beauty of any combat sport. There's always gonna you quickly realise there's always gonna be someone that's bigger and better and stronger than you, and you learn your respect to your, that's why everyone should take up a martial art combat sport.
perfect. And and the other way it goes as well is that if you think you're not big and strong, you could be bigger and stronger if you just try hard.
Exactly.
Get involved. If you're one of those little shy kids, it can give you that good old boost that'll make you want to actually start hitting pads, start doing a bit of grappling. It can change. You can move you up to that level, or you're all kind of on the same level, which is exactly what you just said.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in boxing, we often talk about the part of that which is like discipline and respect. In what ways do you instill those in the gym? When you say you have a rule of no egos, in what other ways do you actually manage to make sure that everybody stays on the same level in the gym?
Well, they all know they need to be respectful to each other, not just the gym, but to each other, which is something I very much pride myself on. My lads, my team are the most welcoming guys, and they always help. Even the beginners, from champions, will always help out the beginners, which is something that I pride myself on. But they all know listen, respect, help each other. They quickly know that.
And that's wonderful, because that just instills great values among people coming through the gym of any age. I mean, I guess, and you get people who are that bit older as well who get involved in the gym. What reasons do they have for coming into the gym? You get people who want to come in and lose weight, stuff like that, Sammy, or one of people who just want to sharpen up on fitness, or?
I think a mixture of all it, really. I think that learning a new skill is always enticing for anyone. But fitness-wise, it's evident that there's no greater fitness than you jiu-jitsu, boxing, kickboxing, and it is fun. It is fun. there's nothing like, this is the sadist in me, but it's good to be in pain sometimes. It progresses yourself.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Just pushing yourself that little bit more.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So, anybody watching this, Sammy, we're going to put this out tomorrow as part on YouTube as part of the James Campbell Collective. What we've been
Okay.
doing these videos over lockdown. It's always been on the cards that we're going to do them. We didn't know how long lockdown was going to be, but it was
Yeah.
going to be between June, July, August. Sorry, May, June, July, and August. So this will be going out tomorrow. So what advice would you give to anybody who's watching this now, who thinks, I might want to go to an MMA gym? What would you say to them?
Just don't be afraid. Really take that leap of faith, and it will work out for you. You really thank yourself.
And that's great, because it sounds like you just said, you've got so many people around you, even a bit more experienced people. You'll just jump in, put the hand around the shoulder, give you a hand, see how you're getting on and all that. And it just opens it up for everybody, doesn't it?
Exactly. It will be daunting. Of course it will be. That's natural. And don't think that you're going to get beaten up. I mean, there might be bully clubs in there that will do that, but the majority of the clubs out there are very good, and they will welcome you with open arms, and you'll never meet a nicer bunch of people.
Perfect. Yeah, I think you summed it up lovely there, Sammy. And thank you so much for chatting to me today. It's great. It's
Welcome.
Hopefully I'll get to see you in person in a few weeks' time when everything's
definitely
get back to normal. But thank you for letting us know, all about mixed martial arts, because I always learn from you all the time. And I love the things you tell me before. And I remember you saying to me before about how it evolves all the time. And even now we're speaking about a year later, and you've still got that same passion. You still got that twinkle in your eye for the sport. I absolutely love that, man. So any young person or a person any age would be really lucky to get in the doors of your gym, man, because you're right behind them. So thanks a million, Sammy.
No, I appreciate that.
Have a good one. Thanks, mate.
And you're welcome. Bye-bye. See you later.